What's happening, Go community? On this week's episode, we're doing a status check with our community about current-gen consoles, and if they got one, how? In news, we discuss an update to the PS5's hardware, as well as their upcoming partnership with Discord, and all three of us played and finished Resident Evil Village. And you'll also hear Zack talk about Jason Schreier's new book, and finally, Sean stops by to talk about The Colonists on Xbox. This is The Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 345 of The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. It's Monday, May 10th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me are my friends, the guy who has been Friends episode stalking me, Mr. Zack Parkerson.
I love you, man.
I love... No, you can't get a better grade.
I can't focus in class because I'm in love.
There's a funny story behind that. We'll tell you in just a second. Also joining us, Mr. Chris Berensmeyer, who has no idea what we're talking about.
Not a clue. Not at all.
So
when your face gets so serious when you're talking, it's so cute.
I love you,
so
dude.
Good.
There's an episode.
I'm still not watching that show.
There's an episode where Ross Geller is teaching a class, and one of his kids pretends that he's in love with him to try to get him to switch his grade over.
And it works.
And it does work. But I got a random text from Zack where he was watching an episode. He happened to be watching that episode. And I recognized which episode it was just from that one screenshot. And Zack was...
Which, of course, made me want to marry Scott immediately.
Yeah, like that's why we're buddies. And randomly, I was watching Friends at home today while I was prepping for the show. I have it on in the background. And lo and behold, that episode came up. I just thought it was really funny that we were on the same cycle. We're in the same season, like at the same time as we're going through watching the show. It's kind of funny.
Pretty good.
See, we actually talked. Oh, go ahead, Zack.
Well, you sent me a GIF of Ross clapping because you had beaten Resident Evil, which we'll talk about later, and you were happy. You were satisfied with it.
Yes.
And so when you sent me the GIF, I immediately sent you a picture of my TV because I was watching Friends at that very moment.
Yes.
A scene of Ross even.
Mm-hmm. It's very apropos. So, CB, Zack and I were talking, and we think that for a Patreon episode, it's not video game related at all, but we want you to host a Friends trivia face-off between me and Zack. And you would have no idea what any of the questions are, but you down?
Yes.
I guess I'm being forced into this, so because we're friends.
I'll be there for you, like I've been there before.
I just think it would be really funny, a Friends trivia being hosted by someone that's never seen a single episode of the show.
Yeah, well, a third party would obviously have to supply you with the questions, but it would be fun if you emceed it because you don't care about the show at all.
Oh, I can get you stuff because my wife loves that show.
Oh my
There
God.
we go.
I don't.
I think we need to do that. Anyway, let's talk about video games. Zack, have you been playing anything this week?
I have gotten 4 of the 5 endings to Nier Replicant.
I thought you already got the platinum.
No, I'm on the road to the platinum.
Oh, okay. 4 of the 5 endings. All right.
I got the platinum in the original PS3 release, which is not easy. But yeah, I'm going to get the platinum on Nier Replicant because, gosh darn it, I should.
Yes, I agree.
So I played through the game 3 times now. And then you can save right before the last boss to get 1 of 2 endings for your third route. But then they added a new ending to this version that I have to get, but it's a bit more of a time sink than one would assume. And Resident Evil obviously was coming out, so I will, keep doing that.
Nice.
My gardening's going well, for all that's curious, you know?
I planted one thing in that game.
There's a trophy for growing the white flower, the lunar tier, which has a 1% drop rate.
Oh, it's just a straight up drop rate?
Well, you have to plant flowers of different colors next to each other, and they have a 1% chance of cross-pollinating.
And you got it on the first try?
Yeah, it felt pretty good.
Okay, I didn't realize that was just a straight up, like, random...
Yeah.
That's nuts. I thought it was like you had memorized this game so well you got through this one area on the first try. I did not realize it was a luck of the draw kind of situation.
Yeah, it felt pretty cool. I felt like I should go to Vegas right afterwards.
You've already used up all that luck. If I've learned anything from throwing dice in D&D, you get a good roll, that means your next one's probably not going to be a good roll.
Well, I'm glad it was spent on this video game trophy and not money.
It's true. That's true. So I played a game this week that I had to tell you guys about. I received a gift basket from one of my students this past week for Teacher Appreciation Week. And in this gift basket was a gift card to the Nintendo eShop, believe it or not. My students know me very well. So I haven't, I've got my Switch, but I've been using it for just like a Mario machine recently. And I went and talked to Jeff. Do you remember Jeff, who came on our show a while back? He's the host of the Nindy Nation podcast. He does a
good
great
Twitter
guy.
follow.
Yes. And his podcast is outstanding as well, too. If you have a Switch, highly recommend following his show because he just basically breaks down all the indies on that platform and talks about which ones go on sale and which ones are great. So I reached out to him and said, hey, man, I got $10 to blow on the eShop. What do you recommend? And he recommended me 2 games. I wound up buying both of them. But the first one he recommended is a game called Chained. Have you heard about Chained at all? I assume not, because I had never.
Sounds either mathematical or perverted.
No, it's not perverted. It was a $5 game. This is it's supposed to be about 3 hours. You play as this character who was laid off from his job at a computer software company that did things for banks. And he and all of his friends lost their jobs because new AI came in that was acquired by all these banks. And so he's now on a revenge mission to rip off every bank in the world by hacking into their systems and taking their money. So you basically sit at your computer and you play this hacking mini game over and over and over again, which is a pretty simple game on the surface because it basically it starts you out with 4 numbers that rotate. Think of it like those locks on a briefcase that like scroll.
Yes,
like,
I'm aware of them.
Imagine like that, but there's 4 things. And the goal is to make a chain. In order to make a chain, you have to have any combination of the numbers as long as each number is only 1 digit away from the other. So 1, 2, 3, 4 would be fine. 1, 2, 1, 0 would be fine as long as each one is only 1 digit away. That's it. Super simple, right? You do that, you earn some coins, and you go on. But what happens is that AI that made you lose your job from before comes in and tries to mess with the combination while you're doing it, and it has these little abilities to do it. And it's all how far can you get, how much money can I get before he overloads the system, and I have to disconnect from the server. And then there's a really interesting little story where you meet some other hackers that move into your house, and it sounds like I'm making this game up. And it's never overly difficult because you can basically push as far as you want to and then quit, and you keep all your money. And it's just, means you have to do another run, basically. I haven't finished it yet. He said it's only about 3 hours, but for $5, I'm not unhappy with it. So I'm looking forward to the game he recommended next week, which is he calls it a Shovel Knight clone, but like an open world Shovel Knight. Like it's still 2D platforming, but it's a much bigger Metroidvania instead of linear levels. So it's called Cathedral. So I'll be talking about that one next week. But Chained is interesting. It feels more like a cell phone game, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Well, I think there's a lot of crossover between mobile games and Switch games.
Yeah, that's true. It's true, and it's heavily pixelated. It's not like anything in realism whatsoever. But anyway, that's what we've been catching up on this week. Obviously, the games that we've been playing have been focused on Resident Evil Village, which we'll talk about shortly. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and jump into the week's news. First off, some new trailers. We got a Kickstarter for a game called Kandra the Moonwalker. Also, Nintendo released a trailer for Game Builder Garage, which looks really interesting. Also, Incredible Mandy, which is available now on PS4 for $14.99. Looks a lot like Zelda, if I'm being perfectly direct. We got an announcement for Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, which is also available right now for Xbox and PlayStation. It's a remake. I don't even know if it's a remaster. It's just a remake of that game. And lastly, Rogue Lords, which is a turn-based roguelike where cheating is part of the core gameplay. I highly recommend checking out that trailer as well. We did learn this week in news that a new design for the PS5 is entering production in 2022. PlayStation has officially partnered with Discord. Giant Bomb has seemingly been ripped apart. And also, Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Ghoul Patrol are coming to Switch on June 29th. Let's see. Zach, where would you like to start, man?
Well, honestly, I think the trailer for Incredible Mandy looks outrageously good.
Doesn't it look awesome?
It looks like the kind of game that we're always complaining we don't get anymore, and shame on us if we don't pick it up, honestly.
We've got a request in. That's all I can say. I'm trying, but even if we don't get it, I may just have to pick it up anyway.
I think it looks very, Zelda Mario kind of thing. It looks great. It looks like the game that we complain we don't get.
I say that, but do you remember that one game I reviewed a while back that looked very Zelda?
The King's Quest or Knight's Quest?
Was it just Knight's Quest?
Is that right?
I can't remember the name of it.
King's Quest is an adventure game, but yeah, I do know what you're talking about because I bought it because of your recommendation, and we both quickly.
My recommendation? I did not like that game.
There's the one that he hated.
Yeah.
The way they got like wall running and stuff.
Yeah, it was like grinding. You would grind on rails and stuff.
Right. No, I bought it off your recommendation because after your first 30 minutes, you thought it was kind of good, but then you learned that it was not good.
Right.
And I went through the same thing because by the time it was like done downloading, you were like, oh, wait, on second thought, maybe don't buy that. And I was like, well, too late out of that.
Oh.
And then I remember I played like the first 30, 60 minutes. I was like, man, Scott's on crack, dude. This is awesome. And then it quickly goes downhill.
Yeah, it really did. I wanted to like that game so much.
Yes, makes a good first impression.
But yes, I agree with you that Incredible Mandy looks incredible. It just looks charming and, yeah, a classic game that we just don't get too much of anymore.
Absolutely.
CB, what about you?
Well, I guess because I know which one you're probably going to want to talk about.
Me?
Yeah. The new design for the PS5.
Okay.
Well, no. This is what I'm going to talk about. Apparently, they're coming out with a new semi-customized 6-nanometer CPU from AMD. To me, I was kind of surprised when I first saw the article that a new redesign, but then it's like, oh yeah, we're not changing anything externally, just internally, because we can't get processors and chips right now. So we're going with a different processor chip, which to me kind of is weird because now you're going to have a different chipset in a brand new console. So it's probably going to perform differently than your first one.
I don't know enough about hardware. I just hit the games and play it. So
yeah, I would assume you're right. I think it probably would be weird for developers. But it's a general idea that the chip is slightly smaller, so therefore they can print more per sheet?
Yeah, I think that's what they're going for. But they also said that
they're sheets.
Yeah, like it's basically like a big plastic sheet that they punch them out of.
Huh.
But it's going to be kind of just odd because they're going with like new suppliers, so it's slightly different hardware, which could change like multiple things. So I'm curious to see how this is going to go because it could be a radical redesign for the internals on this. So what happens with somebody that's been like designing a game for this way or to function with like this chipset, but now you're completely changing the chipset? Because it would essentially make all your dev units different than what you're currently using.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, because I don't know. I just remember reading another article that came out this week that also said that the shortages are going to continue through 2022. Like, it's just going to still be this hard to get one of these for a while. So, I don't know. Yeah. When I first read this thing, I was like, my initial gut reaction, and I think I posted this on social media, I was like, well, we can't get a hold of one now. And you're already redesigning it. But this is why. Because they're so hard to get a hold of, so they're looking at making it more accessible. But the questions that we don't know the answers to are how it's going to run.
God forbid they try to make it look any less over the top ugly.
Dude, I'm telling you, the thing sits on. I have it sitting sideways on my entertainment center. It just sticks out like a sore thumb. Like
it looks awful.
It really does. It looks better standing up. I will say that. I think it looks better standing up, but still,
it is honestly the first console that, because in my house I have my TV mounted on the wall. I have my TV stand, and I've always had my like primary console sitting on top of this. When I put the PS5 there, my wife was like, "That thing is so hideous. You were hiding that."
yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's the first time I looked at a video game console and thought to myself, "Wow, that's ugly."
Yeah. I mean, she was completely okay with the Series X, like the giant square brick sitting on top, just because she's like, it blends into the background. She's like, after a while, you don't even notice it. But with the big like white and black, like
Wings.
melty looking console, she's like, she hates the thing.
Although Tyler Seaver from our community actually swapped out his plates this week. He posted a picture of it on our Facebook community where he swapped out the white plates with black, so the entire thing is black now. It does look a lot better.
It does.
Like just that one little thing makes it a lot better.
I actually have been debating on painting my external plates, but like matte black.
Right.
So it's like matte gloss matte.
I don't trust myself to do anything like that. Like, yes, I think the console's ugly, but it's just going to stay on my shelf as a factory, whatever they sent me, because I am not taking that chance whatsoever. I don't know. All right.
Yeah.
For me, I think what was most interesting was this: the fact that PlayStation is now partnering with Discord. I feel like they got a win on this one, which is good for them. I just thought it was interesting because weren't we just talking about Microsoft potentially partnering with Discord, and then a month later, it's officially on the other end of the spectrum?
I think they're actually partnering with both.
Yeah, PlayStation invested some money into Discord, whereas Microsoft was trying to acquire them for $12 billion, which Discord thought was, according to some stuff I read, Discord apparently thought that was an insultingly low offer, which boggles my mind because that's an insane amount of money for a chat forum. However, PlayStation just basically, did some investment, so now they're going to care more about Discord, because right now you can barely tell that Discord is available on PlayStation.
I guess maybe I need you guys to clarify for me, because I don't understand the integration. Is this where like I'll be able to just access Discord on my consoles?
Yeah,
because that's ideal. Like that's what I would want. Where instead of me having to log into my phone app, or instead of me having to use Xbox Live, just use Discord on there. I can match up with our community, our groups right through Discord. Like that's the integration that I want.
I mean, I believe that's what they're trying to go for. I don't know how they're going to implement it. I would like it just because I know Discord has been doing a lot more stuff with streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's feeling like it's going to be another streaming platform that's going to be available in consoles with the additional function of like chat and all that.
Oh yeah.
But I'm just curious to see how it actually is going to be implemented. Whether it's going to be like a shadow box on the side.
So I'm not crazy. I'm not in not understanding how this is going to work. We haven't been told yet.
No.
Okay.
No, you're not crazy.
Just wanted to make sure that I had that correct. So, all right. Anything else you guys want to mention, or can I just move on here? Yes. No.
I really thought you were going to talk about Giant Bomb.
I just don't. I don't know. I feel bad bringing it up because I haven't listened to Giant Bomb in so many years, just because I kind of fell off the wagon and I got burnt out by a couple of their members just feeling like they didn't like games anymore, and I got tired of hearing them talk about toasters for 45 minutes in some episodes. So I didn't want. I didn't really. I hesitated to even bring it up because I didn't want to feel like I was celebrating it because I don't listen to them anymore. But on the same token, this feels like an end of an era. Those guys are a lot of the reason why I'm podcasting now, because I used to listen to them like crazy because they were one of the innovators in terms of bringing personality to video game journalism.
Yeah, I don't think it's an understatement to say Giant Bomb completely reinvented video game reporting and journalism. Because when GameSpot fired Jeff Gerstmann and then the co-founders of Giant Bomb, Ryan Davis, Alex Navarro, Brad Shoemaker, Vinny Caravella, they all quit because he got fired because it was such a ridiculous situation. And then everybody but Alex Navarro co-founded Giant Bomb together, and they did kind of innovate the format of four white guys talking off topic for the first hour of a podcast, which your mileage may vary there. I usually found them to be quite fun, but I also came across the same problem as you, Scott, where at a certain point it was clear that they kind of hated video games. But I did keep listening to the Giant Beast Cast, which is their sister podcast with a few different members, and basically everybody from over there is not going to work for the site anymore. And that's crazy because, yeah, you're right. It's the end of an era, and we're not totally clear on the why the separation happened. But I don't think it's ever a good look when two of your remaining co-founders leave because the founder with the most power is staying behind. It does not kind of paint a very good picture.
Yeah, but it's all speculation. But yeah, I know what you mean.
It is speculation. I did listen to the last episode of the Beastcast, and they kind of talked a little bit there about how you work on something for so many years, and eventually there's going to be the one issue that breaks it. So it sounds like it was a culmination of events and decisions, but we're never gonna. I don't imagine we'll ever really know what happened. That it was like a Tuesday. I think they announced it, and
Friday was it.
And then Friday was their last day. They talked on the Beastcast, like whatever happened to make them leave happened on Monday. Like, so if when you find out on Monday that you're going to leave the company you co-founded by Friday, something's going on, like something significant had to have happened. Yeah, because that's not usually how that goes. But it is. Obviously, I wish them all the best of luck. And, the Jeff Gerstmann and Ryan Davis, especially, were two people that got me to want to write about video games at all. Especially, I think Ryan Davis, gone too soon. May he rest in peace, etc.
Oh my goodness! I think he passed from sleep apnea, and I was legitimately emotional because I really enjoyed listening to him. He just genuinely loved games.
Yeah, he's one of the very few. He's not even that famous, but to me he was famous, right? But one of the few, like I can picture the exact scenario when I found out he was dead, because somebody close to me texted me, he's like, hey, don't you like Ryan Davis? And immediately my first thought was, there's only one reason somebody is texting you that, and that's because somebody just died.
Yeah, somebody texted, my buddy Mike texted me and told me.
And so that was big. But anyway, a lot of that crew's heroes, and the reason I wanted to do a video game podcast so bad was because of the Hotspot, which was started by Gerstmann and Davis. So yeah, I do think it's the end of an era, and I think this paints a future for Giant Bomb where they're not going to be the site they were, which sucks because I felt like they were the last people who were not trying to chase all of the internet trends. Like you look at IGN and GameSpot, those big sites, they're all just desperately trying to do what YouTubers are doing, and it's kind of sad to watch. So it's just a shame to see another one go down.
I haven't been on this site in a while, but I always in the past I always felt like Giant Bomb was one of the few that still just focused on video games. Like you have to scroll through IGN even to really find the video game news. It's all, and I don't dislike movies or anything, but it's all Marvel stuff, or it's just you have to sift through to find video game stuff.
It's like 80% Marvel and Star Wars, and then there's also some other stuff. And I don't know how many unboxing videos I have to scroll past on IGN GameSpot to actually find the news, but it's way too much.
Yep. Yeah. It's unfortunate. I mean, I get it. There's not as much news, and I don't know why. There just doesn't seem like there's as much news in the video game industry as there is in film industry.
There is. We're just old, and young people care about watching people open boxes of stuff they don't have, I guess. I don't understand personally, but
how does it feel to be part of the old guys group now, man? We don't care about unboxing stuff anymore.
I love when I hear of a YouTuber that I've never heard of, and it's like they have 150 million subscribers or whatever, and you're just like, it's amazing to me that 100 million people are waiting to hear everything you have to say, and I have no idea who you are. And that makes you feel old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what was the one you were talking about, CB? Like, there's people that are making millions of dollars filming their kids play with toys, or like...
Oh, Ryan's World?
Yeah, like apparently he's got a video game franchise and stuff. Like, I don't get it.
Yep. And it all started just filming their 6-year-old playing with his toys. And they have like millions of subscribers.
And now
it's
he's
amazing.
a franchise. Like opening presents is a big thing. Like, they just love watching kids open Christmas and birthday presents.
I don't get it, man. I
don't either. But at the same time, I remember my
the...
parents being like, I don't get why you'd want to watch somebody play a video game. You know what I mean? It's the same. It's a generation thing, I guess. But
yeah,
I just don't want to be that old guy that is like, you kids and your dang YouTubes and Twitches.
Well, there are some stuff I do understand. There's other stuff I don't understand. I do not understand why you want to watch somebody react to watching something. I cannot wrap my head around that. For instance, but there's other stuff you can. Like, yeah, I can get a Let's Play. Or...
In I don't know. Have you ever watched like a theater crowd full of people during a Marvel movie?
I mean, I've been in those crowds.
Right, so have I.
But the people like reacting to trailers and stuff, I'm like, I don't know how you can trick yourself into thinking this is genuine. It's about as honest as porn.
Yeah.
Like, they know the camera's on them. Like, they're crying because they need to play it overly emotional for you, the viewer. So, like, why do you care about watching this? I just can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on. Want to remind everybody... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Officially old. I was just going to say I'm officially old, that's all.
We all are, man. The aches and pains are starting to kick in, and it's really starting to piss me off. Like, things just start to hurt, and it just really drives me crazy because my body just doesn't work the way it used to. But if you would like to help contribute to my arthritis medication, I want to remind everybody that we are an independently funded podcast, which means we do have a Patreon to help pay for some of those costs, and we have been giving back to our patrons pretty much double this month and last month in terms of the extra episodes available. CB, what is available for people to check out right now?
Well, there was our Mortal Kombat spoiler cast of the new movie, which was...
That was me and Zack.
Still kind of mad I couldn't make that one, but we did a legacy episode on Spec Ops: The Line, the effects of COVID on the games industry, and like COVID games collecting. And then just before we recorded this, we recorded a spoiler cast of Resident Evil 8.
You will not want to miss that. We talked about that game for an hour. Like we were obviously very high on the game since we finished it recently. But if you would like to have that game spoiled if you haven't beat it, or if you've beat it and you're itching to talk to somebody about what happened in the final moments of that game, be sure to check that out. If that or any of the other episodes interest you, be sure to head over to our website, patreon.com/thegocast. $3 a month will get you an extra episode each month. $5 a month will get you 2 bonus episodes a month. But like I said, right now, we've actually been doubling up on that. So we're giving 2 and 4 just to kind of make up for some past months that we dropped the ball. So really do appreciate that. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into the games that we've actually been playing. Zach, what's new coming out on the horizon this week?
Well, sure. You know what? Reviews are starting to heat up.
Reviews
good, right?
Are starting to heat up?
I'm sorry. Releases are starting to heat up.
Okay,
Therefore, our review output to the site will heat up. That's obviously what I was going for.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Destiny 2 Season of the Splicer expansion comes with PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and PC May 11th. It's good to see Bungie still cranking things out. Call of the Sea, starring friend of our show, Sissy Jones, coming to PS5 and PS4 May 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla gets its Wrath of the Druids DLC on PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, PC, and Google Stadia. May 13th.
I need to play that game, by the way.
Yes, you
haven't
do.
Played it since launch.
Yeah, Weird that you haven't.
I bought the game and I haven't played it.
Hopefully you didn't buy the season pass yet. Because then you would look like a fool.
Right.
Famicom Detective Club, The Girl Who Stands Behind, and Famicom Detective Club, The Missing Heir are two separate games being released on Switch May 14th by Nintendo. Those are some deep-cut old games, detective visual novels that they've modernized. So they translated it for the first time ever, and they're like, it's modern animation and stuff.
Okay.
It's kind of cool. Kind of cool to see Nintendo embracing its heritage.
Mm-hmm.
Mass Effect Legendary Edition coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, and PC May 14th. That is Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 and all of their DLC, except for Bring Down the Sky, because they lost the source code. No, we don't have Bring Down the Sky. It was a arena combat mode that I cannot remember the name of. Let's see. And then Subnautica comes to Switch May 14th, which also celebrates the release of Subnautica Below Zero on PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and Switch, and PC May 14th. So that's the big Subnautica sequel. I know a lot of people are excited about that. I, however, could not care less about Subnautica.
I know CB loves Subnautica, if I remember correctly, and Thomas has been telling me about it and just won't stop talking about it. Like, he just is obsessed with playing it. He actually bought a Switch this week and already picked up his first game that he purchased for it is Subnautica Below Zero. So
now Subnautica, that kind of survival game, seems good for the Switch because you can play it on your big console or you can play it while you're in bed and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense, but I don't see the appeal of survival games. I will say the Below Zero had more story than I would have expected in the trailer, so I don't know, maybe this has more of a narrative focus, or maybe they added more story to Subnautica, because I remember played it very early on when it was in early access, so I don't know if...
I know zero facts about how this game works. I've been told it's Minecraft underwater, and that was a big turnoff for me, so I don't know if that's true or not, but that's kind of why I've steered away from it, but I feel like I need to revisit it.
It's very interesting. I mean, you're dropped on a planet and you explore around and build a base and survive, and then try to escape the planet. So I mean, it's your typical like survival game. I played the crap out of Subnautica, so actually having a new one to play, yeah, I've already pre-ordered it. So
I think the ice theme's cool.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
is the first one on Game Pass?
I don't know if it's on Game Pass anymore, but I know you definitely have access to it.
Oh, okay. I'll probably need to check it out then, just to see what everybody's talking about. I just feel like I'm missing out on something, but
maybe it'll get you in the mood for Arc 2 starring Vin Diesel.
No, I don't think that's going to put me in the mood for that game. Remember how excited we were for that trailer when that first dropped? And we're like, oh, and it's Arc.
Until the words Arc showed up?
Yeah, that was a bummer.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's jump into the game that all three of us played this weekend and completed. It's the big title for the week, which is Resident Evil Village, or Village_Resident Evil, or we don't know. There's
8,
three
The Village.
possible different answers for what this game actually is called.
Yeah, the box makes it seem like it's Resident Evil 8 Village. Our press releases say Resident Evil Village, no colon, which distresses me greatly, because there should be a colon there, and it really bothers me. Between this, Nier Replicant, and Halo Infinite, there's a war going on against a colon that I do not appreciate. But the main menu would have you believe that the game is just called Village, and if you use a little magnifying glass, you can see the words Resident Evil there.
Mm-hmm.
So
and there's no Resident Evil in the title.
Yeah. I'm beginning to think, is that just in our memories? I feel like the modern games don't do it. I don't think 7 did it either.
I don't remember if 7 did. But
I think 7 did do it, but it wasn't the typical like booming bassy voice.
I know that they all did it up to 5. I don't remember 6 because I try to remove that game from my memory as much as possible.
It sucked.
But I know that 5 did for sure. But anyway, we all started this game, and I'll just start off and I'll see if you guys agree with me. I know at least Zack does. This game does not start out strong in terms of gameplay.
No.
I think it may have one of the worst opening hours to a game in a long time. It was so bad that I felt like I was like, did I just get robbed of $60?
Seriously, I felt the exact same way. I thought I'm gonna because I felt obligated to play through this game, and I played that first hour, and I was like, oh man, what did I get myself into? This is gonna suck. I was so worried that I was alone in that because it was not enjoyable at the beginning.
I guess for context of the audience, you haven't played it like that. It's got a decent little narrative setup, but then you go to the village, the titular village, and it becomes immediately apparent that this game is a bigger Resident Evil 4 fan than you could possibly be.
That's a good way to put it.
And you get jumped by a bunch of lichens, which are the primary enemy of the game. And it's very Resident Evil 4 if you played that game, where it's the beginning where Leon is barricading himself and trying to survive, and it's very tense and exciting there. But here, it sucks. It's really bad, and because the shooting is not great right away, and they don't really build up to it with the same kind of tension that I feel like Resident Evil 4 built up to it. And the only reason I compare it so much to that is because it is obviously what they were going for.
Right. Not only that, but some of the sequences, it's like you don't really have any clear direction as to where you're supposed to go or what you're supposed to do. So I found that at the beginning, I just kept dying because I did not understand what the game wanted me to do. I crawled on top of a roof, and that was a bad idea. You know what I mean? Like, and for a game like Super Meat Boy, where you die and you immediately come back, you learn by failing. This game wasn't fun for that. That first hour, I was really hating this game. Thankfully, it turned itself around once you got to the castle. But if you were playing this game, get through the village, which I know sounds like a much bigger area than it sounds like. CB, what did you think?
I will admit I wasn't a fan of the first part of this game until, again, you get to the castle. I know we talked about it in our spoiler cast some, but to me, this game doesn't feel like a Resident Evil game in a lot of aspects.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a lot of fun with it. Other than some sections where I was wildly disappointed. But then there's other sections where I'm like, oh my God, this game is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a game of high highs and low lows. I don't think I've ever played a game where it's like, I think the first hour and the last hour are pretty bad. But those 8 or 9 hours in the middle are pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of a weird feeling to walk away from a game. And I guess it's like more like the last hour and a half because, Scott and I definitely disagree on the last dungeon of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, I still think the story there is okay, but I think the overall story is kind of bad. It's just, I think it's just, and I feel like I'm just going to take flack from Resident Evil fans for this, but the franchise is goofy. I think we can all agree, and it's just a lot of dumb fun, but this game has a lot of stuff that's just dumb or a little hard to swallow, which is, I feel
this coming from the guy that loves Metal Gear Solid 3, by the way.
That's a great example. Like, that is an over-the-top franchise, but it all works there. And even Resident Evil, like, I think Leon Kennedy, like, fought a shark in Resident Evil 6, and that felt less ridiculous than some of the stuff happening here. And I just, like, I feel ridiculous complaining about the goofiness of a Resident Evil game, but I kind of do care about these characters and these stories, even though they're dumb. Like, kind of like the Fast and Furious movies, right? They're dumb, but you care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just some of the stuff that's happening here, I just think is too goofy.
The more I sit here and think about this game, like now that I'm done with it, it feels like a gigantic cluster of homages to other things. Because because at some point in time of the game, I know it feels like I'm playing Castlevania. At other times, there's some Gears of War. There's some Metal Gear. There's like anime references in this. there's Resident Evil 4 elements. There's Resident Evil 7 elements. I feel that this game, it feels like a movie that was being made by like one producer, then handed to another one, then handed to another one, then handed to another one.
Yeah,
Because it changes pace, tone, and story so much.
I hadn't thought of it until CB just said it, but that's actually a pretty astute observation. Because so the plot of the game is you're Ethan Winters from Resident Evil 7. You're trying to go rescue your daughter who was kidnapped, and you get to the village, and you find out that there are 4 lords of the village. Each lord has their own themed area, and it's actually really cool because it's basically 4 short stories, and those work really, I think, really well, especially 2 and 3. But anyway,
2 and 4.
The 1, 2, and 3. Definitely not 4.
I'm in the same boat as Zack.
but CB is right, because like, yeah, the first one, it kind of does, like, they do feel a certain way. Like, one of them feels very much like PT to me. Like the PT realized, and I think if you guys care about that little demo, you're going to really care a lot, those listening. And then there's one that is pretty clearly Resident Evil 4 inspired.
Mm-hmm.
There is that first one with Lady Dimitrescu, who it does have a lot of like classic Castlevania exploration elements. But yeah, the fourth one really takes a turn for the Metal Gear Solid in terms of some wackiness, but it doesn't come by it as honestly, in my opinion. There's some stuff that happened there that is clearly supposed to be like grotesque or whatnot, but I just actually laughed, and I felt bad because I knew it was not the developer's intention. But I think they whiffed it so hard.
I want to back up on one comment that you said toward the beginning of this review, Zach, is where you said dungeons, and I feel like that's like the best way to describe this, because each area does feel like a dungeon, and I feel like that's new for this franchise. The game has traditionally been kind of a Metroidvania or a gear-gated, whatever you want to call it.
I love it when you use my term.
Yeah, it's a gear-gated game, and this one did that to some degree, but it felt very hub and spoke. Like you come back to your this altar thing, and then you go to this level, and then you go to this level,
right? The village is your Hyrule field, especially because as you get the gear you're discussing, like you can go to more areas of the village than you could before. Right.
So you come back and then you go and you unlock, and there's like all these optional bosses that are tough, and
there are, yeah. That's all right. There's some cool stuff you can find. Actually,
oh, for sure.
I was surprised at the kind of content that is completely optional. I was surprised by some of it.
Yeah, and some of it was very off the beaten path. Like you really have to look for stuff, and you have to kind of use the map and figure out ways to get there in interesting ways that I really appreciated. And I feel like that felt new to the franchise to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
I would agree. But I do think CB's right in a little, like, where it does kind of feel like 4 different games stapled into one another.
Mm-hmm. I kind of appreciated that, though.
I'd almost say it's 5 different, because with the actual like hub section of the game too.
No, you're right, but I did appreciate most of it, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I appreciate it enough that I'm actually on a second playthrough.
Right.
Which the actual gunplay and stuff is very good, I think, and the exploration I think is great. Even when you find yourself in a dungeon that is not exciting to look at, it's so fun to explore the nooks and crannies of these areas. Mm-hmm. Especially the village. I really liked the village. I understand why they named the game after it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you really get to know it, and you find like a new aspect of it, and you're like, what? Like, because it feels so familiar to you that when it has a new surprise, you're like, how dare you?
Right. Why didn't I see this before?
This is my village. Yeah. It's cool. It's really cool.
Clearly, I think I was higher on this game than both of you guys were. I think a lot of it was because I went in with such low expectations after that first hour. I just expected to not like it. But once I hit that castle and I was like, okay, we're back to a Resident Evil game. And that second area, let me tell you guys, go listen to our spoiler cast if you want to know, because I can't really say what it is here. but best area of the game. Best that second dungeon, if you will.
It reminds you why
Quality
Resident Evil 7 was an effective horror game.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of does it because a lot of this game is more on the action spectrum of the Resident Evil franchise. I think it's safe to say.
Right. But at the same time, the combat doesn't feel as action as I want it to be. It doesn't flow like a shooter. You can't, your character, Ethan, doesn't move very quickly. You can't strafe to the left fast, which, makes boss battles a little uninteresting in the gameplay department because all you really do is you just dodge out of the way and shoot the glowy bits, right?
It's one note. Every boss fight feels the same.
But at the same time, it allows you to enjoy the spectacle of that boss, as opposed to worrying about mechanics and worrying about what I got to do. I just want to kind of just sit back and enjoy what's happening on the screen.
Well, when you have the first boss, it feels all right because it's the first time you're doing it, and the spectacle of that boss fight, especially, that's probably the highlight as far as spectacle of the game goes for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you get to every other boss and it feels exactly like the first one, it's not as exciting.
Right, it's true.
Yeah.
CB, got anything else you want to add?
I actually get to say this for once, but apparently I'm better at this type of game than you. Because you always give me crap about being a platformer.
Yeah.
Once again, you gotta dumb it down to easy, I guess.
Oh, I did. I'm not ashamed. But I'll say I'm not ashamed, but I do kind of regret dropping it to casual. Because I dropped it to casual because I kept getting so frustrated with that opening section. I just really hated that opening section, and I'm like, I'm not going to survive this game dying over and over and over again, so I dropped it to casual. But then the rest of the game was like fall down stupid easy. Like I had so much ammo and so much, like I couldn't even buy anything or craft anything. It was ridiculous.
It's that way on standard too.
Oh, is it?
For about the first half, and then like once you hit that halfway point, the game just becomes a breeze.
See, I thought I was swimming in bullets almost the whole game.
I was carrying over 200 handgun bullets most of the time.
I did not have that many.
Yeah, I definitely did not have that many, but at no point in time did I feel that I'm like previous Resident Evil games, at no point in time in this game did I feel like I need to start conserving my shots.
Right.
Yeah, and I never hit that point of like, do I have the like when you miss a shot in a Resident Evil game and you feel terrible about it.
Yep.
That's not happening here.
That's true.
Or like there's a room where it seemed very clear to me that at one point in the game it was like you find there's like a crystal cave, okay, and there's a bunch of crystals you can shoot for a bunch of money. And to me, it felt clear that this was supposed to be a little bit of like, do you as a player want to waste a bullet trying to get shoot these jewels down? But the answer is absolutely, because I have 100 bullets for my handgun.
Right.
But it seemed clear to me that you're supposed to go in there with like 3 bullets and be like, is this really worth it?
Mm-hmm.
But I think at some point during development, they stepped in and were like, no, it's going to be easier than that, guys. Like it felt at odds. There are a few points in this game where what was happening felt at odds with the amount of ammunition I had. And I think the crafting system is a big problem in that because it does have like a pretty minimal crafting system. And I was very surprised at the beginning of the game. The crafting material does not take up inventory space.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. Actually, that is my biggest complaint about this game now. Is
really?
Because every other Resident Evil game, you've always had to manage like your herbs and everything to be like, I need to conserve space. Like it was not only was it a horror game, but it was also like a resource management game.
It was survival horror.
In this game, like that feels removed. I mean, when I'm carrying around 7 weapons with a
not only that, but I'm
ammo,
also carrying like a giant crystal skull. I've got a crystal torso.
Right. And that's another thing. The treasures don't take up inventory space either.
Yep.
So there's no push and pull of like, well, I have a yellow herb that I want to save because I want to permanently increase my health, right? But oh man, I also have no shotgun shells left.
There also wasn't a storage crate though. You know how like in most
Correct.
Resident Evil games you could like put your extra stuff, your excess stuff, and only just carry what you need for that particular run.
Yeah, I never used those because it felt like cheating.
Oh, because it was
But,
like magically like transported to the next.
Yeah, I just
place.
it always takes me out of the experience. Those things.
But even the keys and like the puzzle items, where you were like, oh, I'm gonna need this item later, and you like stash it in your stash crate because it did take up space. With them removing that from the game, I'm sitting here, I'm like, I don't need to manage this now. So I'm literally picking up everything in the game.
Yeah, I found that profoundly disappointing because it does. The crafting system I was already disappointed with because you can just make shotgun shells when you need them, which is much less interesting than I just went 20 minutes without having any bullets and yet somehow pull it off. But the fact that you don't even have the push and pull of like, is it worth picking up the gunpowder?
Mm-hmm.
It just sucked. It was clear to me the game wants to be an action game.
Not only that, but I'm pausing the game in the middle of a boss fight to craft some shotgun shells.
Yeah.
Like, give me a second. I'm just gonna go pound out some shotgun shells really quick.
Well, and it removes the tension of like, should I hold on to the mine, like in case there's a swarm area,
Right.
Because you'll just get to an area where you're swarmed. You're like, well, let me craft up a mine real quick.
Right. There's no worry about it. Just hold off crafting it until you need it.
Yeah.
These are things
But,
I didn't really think about. I just enjoyed still being able to actually manage my inventory and satisfy my need to have all my bullets in the same row and all my health things in the same row and all my... Yeah, I play the game that way, guys.
No, I do too.
Okay.
I actually before we started recording tonight, I actually looked up there's a stupid hard achievement that's a secret achievement.
Uh-huh.
And it's not rearranging your item inventory at all the entire game.
See, I don't arrange it because I need the space. I arrange it because my OCD will hit me over the head otherwise.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
But it's that spend less than 10,000, don't rearrange anything. I was just like, oh my god, like that would drive me insane.
Yep. You might as well just not even look at it
yeah,
at that
it's
point.
a little weird to get through it sane.
Seriously.
Yeah, I don't want to crap all over the game. I did like a lot of it, right? Like I do think that those middle 8 hours are pretty exceptional. But it's just, it's not my favorite Resident Evil, that's for sure. And
No.
I think I also think putting Gross Red Fuel on the box and in every piece of marketing is kind of a D-bag move. As a PSA, he is not in the game very much at all.
Well,
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. That one section though.
Yeah, I mean they pay it off. It's just, for all the marketing being like, oh man, Chris Redfield's a villain, which I mean obviously nobody ever took that seriously, I would hope. They don't even really try to sell that lie to you.
Right.
It's just that it just really falls flat. Everything there.
So you got, I think it's still fair to say you got 3 recommendations for it. It's just that these guys aren't as high on it as I was. I was just like grinning from ear to ear by the end of this game.
It's a far cry from 7.
Yeah, I think 7's pretty spectacular. Obviously 4 is a high mark for me. And I don't know. It's just like the remakes of 2 and 3 I liked a lot more than this even.
You know, one thing we didn't talk about was just how gorgeous this game looks.
That's
on a PS4 Pro and Xbox Series X.
Yeah, even on my loser last gen hardware rather, it looks exceptional. I'm not, as is often discussed on this podcast, I don't really care about graphics, but this game was definitely a looker. I was a little bit surprised the PS4 game looked this good, especially when coming out of an Eastern studio where they kind of don't care about graphical fidelity as much as we do here in the West.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just blown away. It looks this good. It's right up there with like The Last of Us Part 2 in terms of technical fidelity. Just like the lighting is magnificent.
The lighting
That is one thing. Did you play with the ray tracing on?
I did.
I didn't have that option.
You do? Oh yeah.
The PS4 Pro doesn't have that option.
Yeah.
Well, we had it
had-
on ours, but in order to, it doesn't default to on. You have to go into the main menu. You have to go into the main menu. You can't change it like mid-game. You have to go back to the starting screen, go to options, and turn the ray tracing on.
Same thing with HDR on PS4 Pro.
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, we'll say the HDR I think is kind of whack in this game. If we're talking about technical stuff, I actually had to turn it off, which I would never do for a game. Just
Really?
the darks were too dark on PS4 Pro. Just didn't seem. It seemed like they had to program the HDR for your current gen consoles, and then when they retrofitted it for our last gen consoles, I don't think it made the translation perfectly.
Gotcha.
That's all.
Gotcha. Well, that is Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil.
It's Resident Evil Village, no colon, and if I write up the review, you're going to see a colon in there. Gosh,
Are you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Capcom be damned.
Well, Zach, we have an unusual thing for you to review for us this week. We don't normally review literature, but you got your hands on Jason Schreier's new book, which releases Monday as of this week, which is Press Reset, Ruin and Recovery in the Video Game Industry. Tell us about this book.
Yeah, well, I assume, Scott, you review a lot of literature of your students.
Well, yes, but not on a podcast.
I understand. This is the publisher sent us a copy of this book to review, even a physical copy, which is very nice.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been sent a physical copy of anything to review since I wrote for RPG Fan.
Oh, wow.
Nearly 10 years ago. But it's exceptional, man. I don't know if you read, you did not read Blood, Sweat, and Pixels.
No, but CB did.
Yep, I did.
We'll see. Did you enjoy that book, CB?
Yes, I did.
It's very similar in that, and where it's kind of structured around, each chapter is kind of structured around a game in Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, and here it's kind of structured around a studio. And it is the story of these major studios like Irrational or 38 Studios or Visceral that, put out a hit and then got shut down anyway, basically, is kind of the rhythm of the book. And it sucks. It sucks to read about it. It's kind of sad, man. It's kind of a sad book because Schreier does a smart thing where he structures it around people. And I think the book's actually kind of clever because it softballs you in with Warren Spector, who's kind of a legend of video games. And that kind of transitions you into the people who worked under him, and you kind of go down the ladder rather than up the ladder, and you learn how it is for these people on the ground floor, right? Because you get a job at a major studio, at a Warren Spector studio, right? The creator of Deus Ex and System Shock. Your thought should be, well, this is going to be a sweet gig. So you buy a house or you move or whatever, and then, you mess up once, or like in the case of Junction Point, which is the developers of Epic Mickey, they didn't even get their second game out before Disney decided they were just going to get out of video games. So like you put out Epic Mickey, right? You're just a programmer, right? You do everything right. You put out Epic Mickey. It sells 1.5 million copies. It's this huge hit for the Wii. And now you're going to crank out the sequel because, that's how it works. And you're just doing it well. And, all of a sudden you just find out your key card doesn't work anymore.
That's how it happened?
That sucks. I actually don't think that's how it happened at Junction Point, but you're going to find a lot of stories in this book where someone just goes to log into their, Photoshop or whatever, but it's the company's Photoshop that they're lending you, and all of a sudden your passwords don't work anymore. And that's how you begin to piece together that you don't have employment anymore. And that's pretty crap. Or the amount of times where it's like 150 people in a room, and now you have 15 minutes to clear out your desk, or sometimes they don't even let you get your stuff from your desk. And then they just keycard lock you out. It's pretty brutal. It's you're gonna learn a lot of scummy stories, or I don't want to give the whole book away, but there's a lot of terrible stories happening here. And I would be surprised if it doesn't make headlines, the stuff that Ken Levine's staff says about him, because it's pretty bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Well, it's interesting that you recommend this so highly when it's very much doom and gloom stories. In your review, you mentioned that if you care about the video game industry, it's a very important book for people to read. Why is that?
Right, because I think, all of us here, obviously, it's one of our favorite things to do, right? Video games. And I think it's, I've said many times, I think it's the most important part of storytelling that we have, and it's my favorite thing in the world. And I think you just kind of owe it to the hundreds of people who put their blood, sweat, and sometimes pixels and into making you a game that you're playing at home, right? Like Resident Evil Village or something, you're playing it and you're enjoying it. And, we don't often think about the 300 names that get blasted at the screen at the end. But it's, those people are all human beings like us, right? With families, lives, jobs. And when you read a headline that says Visceral Games shut down, you're like, oh no, like Star Wars Ragtag's not going to happen. Amy Hennig, I wonder what she'll do. But, and you see the number, right? Where it's like, 280 people, staff laid off. And you're like, well, that sucks for those people. But this book really goes into, imagine if you're one of those 280 people and it does like a smart job where it'll frame the story, of like someone who is really excited about a job. They start as an intern, they work their way up, they're a producer now. They're sacrificing their personal life to get Battlefield Hardline out because Dead Space 3 didn't meet the sales expectations. So they're going to prove that, Visceral's worth it or whatever. And they do it, right? They put out Battlefield Hardline. It does gangbusters, way better than expectations. So they're like, absolutely, we're putting this team on Star Wars. And then in the middle of a Star Wars project, all of a sudden your entire studio gets shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, how does this make any sense? We did Dead Space 1, 2, and 3 were all profitable. They just weren't EA profitable. They were actually each profitable than the last, you find out in this book. And then, but it's not EA, right? It's EA numbers because they're not interested in the game that makes them $75 million profit. They need the $500 million profit game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is stupid. But so they put you on Battlefield, and then you prove them that you can go from third person to first person, completely shift gears, and then your reward is Star Wars, and you're like, absolutely, we proved it. And then, like, now you don't have a job. They don't even let you try to go like position, like you can't even try to make a Hardline sequel or another Battlefield game. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it just really goes into the ground floor look at that, which it's pretty appalling. And there's just so many stories of these people who, there are other tech jobs you can get where you make more money and you get a retirement plan and you get vacation days, which does not exist in the video game industry. Like, so like, why make a video game? So yeah, I do think, you kind of owe it to the developers to read this book, Press Reset. It's just gives you an inside look. And yeah, it is sad. But I got to tell you, every time a publisher tells you that games are too expensive to make, you're going to freaking laugh at them in the face. Because it was already a hollow, lazy, sad excuse. So like, well, games are just too expensive to make. We have to lay people off. But like, this book really, really hammers into like, that's just bullcrap. That's just a complete lie. Like, that's a soapbox. But like, an executive makes $40 million bonus. Like if they just took a $10 million bonus, that'd be $30 million more to pay staff with.
Right.
And still more money than you can spend in a lifetime.
Right. So
like, it's just, you're never, and when you just see all the different stories of people whose, families get uprooted or like, divorces happen or they don't get to see their, they lost custody of the kids, all these terrible things, like.
Just so that we could play a fun game.
Just so you can play a game. And it's just like, these people did everything right. Like Irrational made BioShock Infinite. And because Ken Levine didn't want to work with a big team anymore, the studio gets shut down? Are you kidding me? That's crap.
I agree. Press Reset. Ruin and recovery in the video game industry. I'm intrigued.
It's important that Jason Schreier does an excellent job connecting all these stories and making the threads work. And there are some uplifting stories where like someone starts an indie studio and becomes millionaires and stuff like that, but not a lot of them. And I hope we keep seeing Jason Schreier books for years to come because he's got some kind of access that we all wish we had.
I agree. Very interesting, Zach. Well, thanks for checking that one out for us. I do appreciate it. And also, I got one other game I want to check out or share with you guys. I sat down with Sean Coates to talk about a game that he's been playing on Xbox called The Colonists. We'll play that for you right now. I'm here with one of our contributing writers, Mr. Sean Coates. Sean, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good, Scott. Every time I'm here, it feels like an accomplishment, or actually an achievement, if you will.
Hey, look at that Xbox fanboy right there, right?
Yeah, or trophy, whichever you
Or
whichever
trophy.
you prefer.
Okay. We got to be equal opportunity there, right?
Exactly.
Well, Sean is here to talk to us about a game called The Colonists, which it was not on my radar whatsoever. And I'm just going to let you kind of describe what this game is, because all I can tell from this is that it's a relaxing experience. It just looks like a chill game. What is The Colonists?
It's an RTS, real-time strategy, resource gathering game in the same vein of something like Age of Empires or The Settlers, or I've also seen people compare it to the Anno franchise.
Okay.
Some of these games I've not played. The real-time strategy genre has always been more of a PC genre, just because
Right.
of the easy point-and-click kind of nature of it all. But this, and actually The Colonist was already on PC for a couple of years now, but this is the first time it came to consoles. And I'll tell you, they did a fantastic job on the optimizing for a controller.
Okay, I was going to ask, like, how does that translate? Because, like you said, these games naturally work well with a mouse. How do they translate that well with a controller?
With a radial menu system, you hold in the case of the Xbox, which I played it on, you just hold the right trigger and the menu comes up and you use the joystick to navigate around a circular menu system, and it works perfectly.
Okay, cool. So is there anything else going on here? Is this a typical resource management game, or is there an end goal? What are you trying to do?
I guess the end goal is just to make a efficient and bustling little colony of little cute, adorable robots.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it.
Is there an end game, or is it just kind of just go and just make it look even better?
I think it's just one of those, like SimCity or City Skylines. It's just make it, just go and make it even better. Although there are some modes where it does feature a competitive mode against AI colonies, and so you can engage in combat with those with those other rival colonies if need be, like Age of Empires.
That sounds pretty interesting. Now, I got to ask, because when I think of resource management or RTS in general, I don't think relaxing and chill.
Neither do I.
This game totally just gave me that vibe of just sit back, relax, and enjoy, and I feel like it's being marketed that way as well. Am I off the mark there?
Not at all. It is quite strange how they were able to make a game like this relaxing, because, again, I think of games like Age of Empires or even Command and Conquer. Two games that are not relaxing.
Right.
But somehow they made it work. And I give them high marks for that.
All right, so it sounds like you recommend The Colonists?
Absolutely. If you're a fan of the RTS genre in any way, and if you have a console, it works great on consoles, or for PC players, it'll just feel like a natural experience.
Sounds good. Again, that is The Colonists from developer Code by Fire, and I want to give a shout out to Super Indie Games for hooking us up with a copy for that one. Sean, thanks so much for stopping by to talk to us about this game. I think it sounds like a game that I might need to play just in terms of relaxing.
Absolutely, and this is after I review this, it'll be in my arsenal of games I'd like to wind down to.
Yeah,
so
it looks like a total wind down game.
For me, that's City Skylines and things like Minecraft and that kind of sort.
That sounds like a perfect game on my Switch, where I can just kind of pop that in right before bed.
And I hear it works well on Switch.
All right, great. Well, thanks again, man. Really enjoyed talking with you, as always, and I guess we'll chat with you next time.
Cheers, man. Thanks a lot.
Moving on, let's talk about Facebook. We do have a Facebook community over at facebook.com/groups/the GoCast. We have a great community over there, including new members Derry Pacheco, Gary McCullough, and Tyler Dunn. Welcome to the community. Please come on over, join us. We would love to interact with you, and I do my best to try to keep that place posted with news and fun memes and any kind of video game related topic that we can get our hands on. Also, our Discord server is available, another community of fantastic gamers over there. The link for that is in the show notes, and we have a new member to say hello to by the name of Neo Shinobi. Welcome. I want to remind you, as we do every week, please drop us a review on your podcast player of choice, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. Drop us a line. Let us know what you think of the show. It really helps us get the word out to other listeners out there. Also, our website, thegamingoutsider.com. That's where we post all of our episodes as well as written content, including written reviews. And you can read CB's review of Swarm, which is finally up and available for you. Also, Alyssa's written review of Dark Knights with Poe and Munro, which is a full-motion video game that she really enjoyed quite a bit. And Thomas's review of Paradise Lost, which he spoke about a couple weeks ago, is available on the site, as well as Zack's written review of Press Reset, which you just heard him talk about a little while ago. It's a little, it's interesting writing a written review of a book.
Yeah, it was definitely outside my wheelhouse, but I tried.
Well, you did a fantastic job, man. So thanks for doing that.
Well, thanks.
Moving on, let's go ahead to our From the Outside In topic. We are just about 6 months since the release of current gen consoles, so we thought it was time for a status check with our community to see where everyone is sitting currently. We wanted to know how many of you guys got one. You know, we're talking about Xbox Series X or PS5. How you got one and how you're liking the new hardware. We had a ton of responses, and I'm going to tell you right now, we are not going to be able to read every single one of them. We try, but we had so many people respond with this one, which is awesome. So we just kind of each picked 3 or 4 that we wanted to share with you. But real quick, I mean, you guys know where we stand. CB and I each have a Series X and a PS5. Zach's waiting for now. But where are you? I mean, I feel like we talk about it every week, so I kind of know where you are, CB. Like you love your Series X and your PS5. You're waiting for something to play on. Is that where you're pretty much at?
Yeah, I mean it's a lovely, giant, ugly paperweight currently.
Yeah, I say that, and neither of us have played Returnal, but
and again, I am like looking forward to some of the stuff coming. I got the new God of War. Like I can't wait for that to get here. But as far as like the standard games, I'm still just gonna play on Xbox.
Yeah, I mean that's what I do. I'm using my PS5 right now to play Nier. I mean that's the reality of it. I've played that in.
Here's your PS5 to play a PS4 remake of a PS3 game.
Yeah, so I really haven't seen the PS5 to its full potential. Although I did play Tsushima, Ghost of Tsushima, which again
Also,
was a PS4 game.
Correct.
But
Miles Morales,
also PS4 game.
Yeah,
so that's true.
I think your guys' first exclusive was Returnal, and you didn't care.
Oh wait,
It's
no,
not that I didn't
Astrobot's Playroom.
You're right. Astro's Playroom is the first exclusive. Of course, I don't count Demon's Souls because it is a shot-for-shot remake of a PS3 game. If it were substantively different, I would say that it would, but they one-to-one remade it, so it's kind of hard to sell it as a PS5 game to me.
And the thing with Returnal, and we talked about this last week, that $10 really makes a difference in my brain. There's just something about $70 that bothers me.
I think, no offense to Returnal, and it might just be a marketing issue, but even at $60, I think that game would have been a hard sell.
Yeah, I think Dustin said something in our community that this is a $20 game in terms of gameplay. Now, graphical fidelity and like what they've done is apparently gorgeous. I can't speak to it because I haven't played it. And I'm not disparaging the developer. Was it Housemarque?
Yeah, Housemarque, absolutely.
For what they've done. But we're used to paying that price point for essentially a roguelike, right? This one's kind of ratcheted to 11, so to speak, but I don't know. I think that's not necessarily their fault as much as it is the market.
Yeah, well, and I think it's kind of Sony's fault because they push it. They're the ones that decided the $70 price. You know, and I think just a cursory look at the market for that genre, and you look at competitors' games, right? Like Resident Evil Village is a $60 game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of you didn't pay enough attention to the market. That's all.
I could think of so many other games that they could have sold for $70 last gen before Returnal. I would have paid $70 for Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, legitimately, I would have paid that much money for that game.
Yeah, I would have. I'm sure I would have picked up Resident Evil Village for $70.
Now, granted, those are established franchises too, so that's almost not a fair comparison. But
so therefore, another argument where if you're Sony's marketing team, you should intelligently lower the cost,
right?
Especially like there's so many free options, and it's just you'd have to be pretty brain dead to put that game out at $70. But that's what they did.
It'd be really interesting to see what the sales numbers for are on that thing.
Don't think we'll ever get them unless it's sold super well, and I'm dead wrong, which I'd be happy to be.
I will say. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, just because interject me on the next gen stuff. to me, it's just I will upgrade inevitably because I will have to. But I don't feel any pressure because I don't care about technical fidelity, as has been established. So yeah, that would be the major push right now. I do want to play Returnal, but I wouldn't have paid $70 for it anyway. And Ratchet & Clank looks cool, but I waited 5 years to play the last Ratchet, so I'm okay waiting a little bit on Ratchet & Clank. So honestly, like the only game that I would have really bought a PS5 for would have been Horizon, but they already said that's going to PS4 as well.
Yep.
So I got
plenty of time.
I can't find the reason to do it, and I see that you guys have them, and every now and again I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool to upgrade, but then I have to have that rational conversation with myself where I'm like, there's no reason to.
Yep.
Like I would feel bad about myself.
Speaking as a person that has both, yeah, we all could have waited.
Yeah,
seriously.
In general, I think them just waiting a year to put these out would have probably been wise because you would have had a stronger library and stuff, but that's not the reality. And if
their sales numbers would disagree.
Never mind. Yep. I take it back. Never mind. It was super wise at the release. I entirely take it back. But in terms of gamers, you could have waited clearly a full year, and it would not have affected much because it's not like Xbox is cranking out the exclusives either.
Right.
And yeah,
I feel the same way as CB. I'm not like regretting the purchase, but I would have been just fine with my Xbox One X.
I'm happy to everybody that paid retail price and got one. Good for you guys. If you paid a scalper, I'm sorry. But it's...
I am in a slightly different boat because I did not have a PlayStation because my PS4 Pro died. Yeah, so it was either get a PlayStation 4 Pro or just get the 5. And why not just get the 5 at that point?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the PS4 Pro is still $400, isn't it? Like they want you to get the PS5.
Right. So might as well. The extra $100, and I got lucky. There was like one left at the Target near me. So
that's honestly my biggest thing is I'm not going to chase down a console that I don't need anyway.
It's tough. CB, how'd you get yours? I know how you got one of yours.
Yeah, my PS5 was by the good graces of Mr. Scott Clark.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But my Xbox, it was a almost week-long ordeal of like like Xbox released limited numbers, and then Target released limited numbers for the pre-orders. It was honestly the most nerve-wracking, annoying, and poorly rolled out pre-order I've ever seen.
The Switch wasn't great either.
From both sides. No, this was terrible. Because we already knew that it was going to be low numbers. It was awful. The fact that you could actually be like
with nothing to do but play video games for a stretch there.
And nothing to do but hit F5 on your web browser.
Right.
But even it's like, oh yep, it's in your cart, you're checking out, and by the time you like submit my credit card number, oh sorry, we already sold it.
Yeah.
Like that's something to me that needs to be addressed in the future. Like if it's in your cart,
it should be marked as sold.
Yeah, it should be marked as sold. Like it's just like if I went to the store, if it's in my cart and I'm at checkout, like I'm buying this.
Right.
I would like to see better anti-scalping measures in the future. I don't necessarily know how you do that, but like if I were Sony or Microsoft, and like you obviously you sell them to retailers, but then they sell them to a bunch of scalpers who then sell them on eBay for $800. Like if I were Sony and Microsoft, I would be annoyed that someone is making a profit off of the machine I put out there.
Mm-hmm.
But B, I'd be pretty convinced that like, well, we should have charged $700 then,
right?
Because obviously people would have paid it.
Yep.
Which worries me for the next console generation.
Well, it just begs the question. Like when people see the prices, they're like, "Oh my god, that's out of control." But like, well, obviously not that out of control because you bought it from eBay,
right?
For almost double the price.
The one thing I am actually curious on is how many people actually were able to do the like Xbox subscription plan.
Dude, that's been
I've not talked to one person.
That's been stuck in my head ever since the sales numbers, like that it's reported that both these machines are selling out as soon as they hit the shelf, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in the non-stimulus world where you don't have that huge influx of extra cash, the subscription model, I think, that would have been really enticing to people. And I bet Xbox is kind of annoyed a little bit. Obviously, some people really did need the stimulus money, but let's be real, a lot of people just spent the stimulus money on fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Without that extra influx of cash, the $35 a month thing would have looked a whole lot more appealing to a whole lot more people.
Yep.
So I bet Xbox ain't happy about that.
I agree.
Well, I mean, I'm still curious to see how many people actually did it.
Yeah, I haven't heard of one, honestly.
Well, yeah, because why? If you're the retailer, why go through the hassle of setting somebody up with the pass thing when you can just sell it to somebody else for $500 straight up?
Not only that, but how, if they're so limited, I imagine the process to go through and get that whole thing set up takes some extra steps.
Right. That's what I'm saying. There's just no way you could. I don't know how you could get on the plan right now.
Right. Because by the time you get through that paperwork, we sold it.
Yes.
So I don't know how that works either. But
if anybody listening is doing that, I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, same here.
Let us know. Nobody, not a single comment said that. I will tell you that from that's bevy of comments that we got. I will say I got mine. I believe mine was Amazon. I was sitting at work at the stroke of 10 o'clock when they went on, and I was just furiously trying to get one on my cart. I was that guy.
I got a PS5 in my cart, and I was like, "What the hell am I doing? I don't need this." I was glad I came to that realization.
Oh man, you could have hooked a brother up, man.
Well, you didn't need me. I mean, I guess I could have sold it for a profit on eBay, of course.
Well, yeah.
But I wouldn't, because that would make me a dirtbag.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore either. No, I got my first I actually got two PS5s, one for me, one for CB. One was Walmart, and one was Target, if I remember correctly. Got kind of lucky, and I decided, like you, I just didn't need it. I kind of regretted it, but I didn't want to return it, and it wound up being in the hands of a scalper. So I actually sold it to a buddy, for Face. Didn't charge him any extra for it because he wanted to have it for his kid for Christmas. And then I got my other one also from Target. Just got lucky. I follow Wario64 on Twitter. And as soon as something goes up, I'm in the cart trying to buy it. And I had everything lined up for that one. I got lucky.
You're good at this game. When I do want my PS5, I'm just gonna send you the money and just have you get it.
Do you have any idea how many people I've gotten Xboxes and PlayStation 5s?
That's what I'm saying, man. You're good at this game.
Yeah.
Because we got comments from people who are like, yeah, I've been trying for months to get it, and I keep missing the window. Yep. Scott Clark, knocking it out left and right.
I don't know. I'm passionate about it. I don't know. I want people to get these consoles instead of scalpers to get the consoles, and anything I can do to kind of help that. It's very, very little, but let's see what our community said about this, because I was really curious to see what they said. And again, I apologize, we cannot read every single one of them. There's just simply too many of them. But we're going to each pick a few here, read them and comment them, and go from there. Zach, why don't you kick things off?
Sure thing. Sean Coates wrote in with, still don't have a current gen system, but I recently declared to myself and to friends who care that I am now an Xbox guy. Don't get me wrong, I still love my PS4 and PlayStation as a brand, but with the boneheaded moves Sony has been making, including but not limited to their refusal to embrace backwards compatibility, not having a competent rival to Game Pass, it's not hard to see why I've defected to Xbox. I still plan on entering this new generation with the Series X, but I'm sure I'll wait a little longer before they're stocked in abundance. I think Sean is a sign of a bigger problem that PlayStation is facing.
It's funny that he's defected to Xbox, but he still doesn't have one. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, of the two consoles, I'm way more inclined to get an Xbox right now.
I mean, it's just from what's happening right now, it's more attractive. I mean,
with a lack of exclusives on either console,
mm-hmm.
Then it comes down to the feature set, and I like. I don't want to sound like an anti. I'm also a PlayStation guy. It's just in terms of a feature set, the Series X is just absolutely a better offer
for right now,
top to bottom. Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
I mean, you guys are complaining about how do you even turn your PS5s into rest modes? It's just the little problems are even annoying.
Yeah, that needs to be. I don't know when's the last time you turned on your PS5, CB, but it could be so simpler. It does not have to be that complicated.
want to hear like the trophy UI sucks. I'm hearing from all the people who care about trophies. Like it's just even the little things I didn't get right. It's just weird.
It's very weird. We got a comment from Adam Moreau who said, I got an Xbox Series X from Best Buy on some random day pre-launch. I happened to be looking on their website. I grabbed it, checked out, and voila. A few weeks later, I was able to order one from Walmart for a family member. That was an announced time sale, and I got lucky again. So that's kind of very similar to what I talked about with my experience. Just I've just been lucky, but I've also been persistent. It's not just sheer luck. I don't get one every single time. Trust me, I've tried several times with some of those links and failed miserably. And it's one of those where I'll send a link to somebody and be like, "Dude, Xboxes are up. Go right now." And then he'll I sent it to one person and they texted me back an hour later and said, "Oh man, they're out." I was like, "Man, dude, you can't wait an hour. Like like these go in like 90 seconds sometimes." So
right.
Yeah.
Is it FOMO? Is FOMO what's making people go through these hoops?
It's part FOMO and it's part people knowing that they got something that other people can't have, and it feels like this powerful, like I've got it and I could sell it for more. Or
even though it's inevitable that everyone will have one.
Everyone will have one eventually. Yeah,
real temporary victory.
Just be patient. It's crazy. Matt Ebert said, I got a PS5 from Sony Direct at launch for myself, and I love it. I was rocking a Destiny PS4, so the upgrade was needed. I got my son a Series X directly from Microsoft, also at launch, so he also was very good at doing this. I brought up Matt's comment because he said Sony Direct. I tried multiple times to get one through Sony Direct. I don't know if you've ever experienced doing it. Their system is nuts. I know that CB, you were saying you were complaining about some of these retailers. You know, you have it in your cart, and then it's just magically gone from your cart. Sony's Direct has tried to curb that. I don't know if you've tried to do that yet, but they have this whole queue that you get into. So there's a countdown just to get into the queue. So you literally stare at your phone or computer, waiting for this queue to unlock, and as soon as the queue unlocks, you get into the queue, and then you play a waiting game to see if you were in that queue early enough to get it, and they basically distribute them on a first come first served basis.
Well,
I've sat in that queue for an hour and got nothing.
They did the same thing for Xbox.
Uh-huh.
Like it's like, oh, you are in the queue for the queue, and then when you finally get in the queue, they're like, oh, well, we don't have any on the Xbox site, but now we're going to put you in the queue for the Best Buy link.
Right.
So it was just like bounce, bounce, bounce. And then by the time you get to the Best Buy,
you wonder if Microsoft even needed retailers. Like, if it's all online anyway, why did they go through retailers?
Dude, why did either of them?
I don't know.
You know? Like,
yeah.
Just so the retailers will stock their games?
That's probably a good point, actually.
It's that, but they're also probably afraid of, with the amount of shipping, that if, like, oh, look, there's a nice big box on someone's porch.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's true. All right, CB, you're up.
Noe Bushman, not really interested in the series just yet. My 1S works perfectly fine. Hey, you know what? I can completely respect that thought.
Yep. Mine was working just fine. My X was working just fine.
Yeah. It was just your PlayStation decided to die.
Right. And what's funnier, even with the Xbox Series X, the UI is identical. It does not.
It's the exact same.
It doesn't feel like a new console at all. The PS5 at least feels like a fresh experience.
Apparently
I just feel like I plugged it. What's that?
Apparently a worse user experience, though.
Yeah. But, well, yeah, that's true. The user interface. Just to turn it off. I want you to just like see, like the first time you get a PS5 in your hand, Zach, like don't look up how to do it. I just want to be like, okay, turn this off.
Okay. That'll be fun.
Like just see how long it takes you to figure out how to turn it off. Because it like even to find the settings, like just to like go like to set up your network and stuff. I mean, it sets it up for you automatically, like when you first turn that power on the system. But like to get to the settings is in a completely different spot than the power is, which I don't.
It's unusual. It's very unusual.
It's very unusual. Anyway, go on, CB.
Yeah. I got another one here from Brian Regals. I got both the Xbox Series X and PS5 on launch day for $4.99 each. I know the manager at GameStop very well. I buy a ton from him. So he called me on launch day for each, and I was able to get them. I tried the same thing because I'm actually friends with a couple of the managers at the GameStops here in town.
Yeah, but Brian Regals is a really nice guy.
He is.
You're not.
Well, yeah, so what? But because of the like extremely limited numbers that we got in here in town, I actually there's a GameStop that's like just up the street from me. I went on the pre-order launch day where like people were going to launch. It's like, oh, we only have so many of this one and so many of this one. And I felt bad because the GameStop near my house hadn't put that sign up yet. And so there was a huge line of people down the door. And I was like going to the people on the end. I'm like, hey, you might want to go read the sign on the door and then go somewhere else because they only have 5. And if like the person in the front is buying 2 of them, that's 2 of the 5. You're not going to get one here. Like go chase it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And there was actually like 10 people in that line that like thanked me because they were like, yeah, I might as well go somewhere else and attempt it rather than waste my time here.
Right.
It was just such a poor launch.
I guess GameStop's loosened up on the rules, man, because as a former GameStop manager who worked during the PS3 or PS4 and Xbox One launches, what this manager did for you, Brian, definitely would have gotten me fired. So I'm glad he looked out for you, or GameStop just cares less. It's probably harder to find staff for GameStop these days. So you should really thank that guy, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Hug your GameStop employee, man.
They definitely, I would have lost my job for sure.
Knowing a couple of the managers that I know, they would still lose their job to this day.
Yeah. So that guy really put his neck out for you, is what I'm saying, Brian. It shouldn't be a big risk, but boy, is it.
I don't know how somebody is able to buy 2 of them. How can you buy 2 consoles when there's a line of people out? Like,
you buy one and your kid buys one.
Yes.
Right. GameStop's really scummy, Scott. I don't know if you've heard this.
I've heard that.
Like you could have an 11-year-old stand in the line, and as long as the 11-year-old has cash in hand, they are a paying customer. It doesn't matter their age.
Our district manager got so giddy about the amount of money coming through the door for Grand Theft Auto 5 that she ordered us to start selling people's pre-ordered copies, because if they wanted it, they should have gotten there.
Wow.
And I refused to do it, and she sent me home for the day. Wow. So GameStop is scum. Top to bottom.
That's just...
there are a lot of good employees that work there.
Yes, every coworker I've ever had has actually been pretty great at GameStop. But boy, oh boy, you have to be to be a district manager or an area manager or regional manager, like you must not have a soul.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. That company's garbage. Anyway, Brian, hug your GameStop manager is what we're all saying. And slip him a $5. But Samuel Smith wrote in with something I thought was kind of funny. I gave up and instead bought 10 guitars.
He did. He's been posting all kinds of pictures of his guitar collection that he's bought. Everyone posts a picture of a PS5 and he posts a picture of a guitar right afterwards. It's great.
Well, he could just walk into a store and buy a guitar.
That's true.
Good for him.
That's true.
He's refusing to play their game.
Yeah. I wish I knew how to play guitar. CB?
I have one, and I don't even know how to play it.
It sounds like Samuel Smith would teach you.
Wait a minute. You have something that... Of course you have a guitar, CB. Like, I have a guitar.
I'm surprised it's not like a 1-to-1 replica of some guitar that was in Fallout.
Right.
No, I bought a guitar for Rocksmith.
That's right.
That makes sense.
But it's actually like not the guitar that crappy guitar that came with like the collector's edition one.
Right.
Like it's a nice guitar.
Do you own a hurdy-gurdy?
No, I wish I did. I would play that thing all the time.
What's a hurdy-gurdy?
Oh man, it's a crazy instrument that his character in D&D plays, but it's a real instrument. There's a woman on YouTube that does hurdy-gurdy videos, It's like a hand crank instrument, hand crank stringed instrument, and there's a woman that does like metal covers on a hurdy-gurdy. It is amazing to watch.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Sidetrack. I have another comment here from Pedro Rosado Feliciano. Well, got my Xbox at launch via the Microsoft Store. Man, you lucked out there.
Yeah, you did.
And recently got the PS5 thanks to a friend at Walmart. So far, so good. Both consoles deliver great graphics and gameplay. I'm pretty happy with both next-gen consoles. I mean, again, I'm happy with them. I just wish I would have waited on one because
No, you don't. You'd be if you didn't have either one right now, you'd be like chomping at the bit, not able to wait to get one.
No, because actually, I legitimately probably should have waited on the PS5 because I feel bad because there are people out there that want to play it and mine just sits there staring at me.
Right.
Very ugly.
So ugly. Can't believe how ugly the thing is.
Alan Sheck says, does the Quest 2 count? While everyone else is fighting over Xbox and PlayStation, I jumped into the world of VR, which is cheaper and considerably easier to get your hands on. I will admit that the downfalls that probably kept many from picking one up are real. The games are short, they feel a little gimmicky, the library is limited, and you generally end up playing standing up. As such, I still find myself frequently going back to some of my non-VR favorites on PC. But I've never had more fun with any other form of entertainment than I have had in VR, and I don't regret my purchase for a second. Of course, CB has a Quest 2 as well, and that's the reason I have a Quest 1, because I bought his Quest 1 from him, which I've only used to play Star Wars pinball at this point. But
man, you really need to play some more stuff on there.
I do need to. It's just a matter of...
For one thing, there's 2 other Star Wars games you could play.
Well, I played Vader Immortal already.
Yeah, you played it on my Quest 1.
I played it on his back before it was mine. I'm saying Star Wars Pinball is the only game I've played since I've owned it.
Well, then you should play Tales from the Galaxy's Edge.
I should play that one too.
Also,
yeah,
a lot of fun.
It looks exceptional.
And Swarm? You
yes,
Swarm.
You really need to play Swarm, man.
I don't know, man. I got nauseous walking around my fan cave in Star Wars Pinball. I'm worried that Swarm is going to make me vomit.
Well, just make sure I'm there because I want to watch that show.
I think it's CB's highest reviewed game.
Yeah,
it is
9.5 out of 10.
Right. Well, I think CB would have to die before he gets something at 10, but yeah.
Brandon Lloyd said, I got my Series X day one. I pulled up to a GameStop before work and it was raining, so I got out of my truck and grabbed my chair and coffee and walked to the door. I got swarmed by like 8 people that were waiting in their cars all night. Ha ha ha. That sucks. I got second in line and waited 2.5 hours. Felt like a major dork, but apparently I made a wise choice. Went to work right after getting it. Everyone who was there before me got a Series X2, but 30 more people showed up. GameStop only had 10, and it was worth it. Gears 4K 120 hertz is insane, and just all the 4K 60 frames per second games are mind-blowing. Tetris Effect on the X is insane, just bloody amazing, and surround sound too. I love that story.
That story's cool.
I will say, Brandon, like, guess what? If you're not in line, you missed out.
Yeah, I don't feel sorry for those people, but
well, it's just so the rain kept you away. Is that the idea?
Yeah, didn't want to get wet. That's where you wear a raincoat. Remember when we went to Disc Replay to get in line for that like vault opening thing they had, and there was nobody in line, and we're like, we're getting in line. It's like under an alcove. There's no problem getting in line. And as soon as we did, then everybody got out of their cars and came.
Yeah, everybody just swarmed up behind us. Like the one that pisses me off more than anything is when like one person stands there and then like lets like all their friends like come up to him and be like, "No, man, that's not how this game works."
Yeah, it's like going back to grade school days.
Yeah, line jumper.
And I will agree with you, Brandon. Man, the Tetris effect just looks really cool.
I swear, I feel like my eyes are broken. I cannot tell the difference in frame rates.
I can't either.
Yeah, okay. Glad I'm not alone, at least.
I feel like I need to see them side by side to really see the difference. But
I struggle even then, but I don't know. Whatever. my problem, I guess.
No. I got one from Daniel Gilmore. I used an app called Hotstock for notifications on both systems. Regardless, every website, especially Walmart, broke anytime they came in stock. Best Buy eventually updated their cart and checkout system by adding a queue and securing the console when adding to cart. I was lucky enough to snag the Series X a month before leaving California, then the PS5 about 2 weeks after moving to Virginia. I'm very happy to have both. There's nothing quite like Gears 5 on Saturday, followed by Returnal on Sunday.
There you go.
Man, I always get so nervous using like apps I'm not familiar with, especially when it comes to like buying things.
Right.
Right, where money can change hands.
Well, if Hotstock just gives you a link to it, you just get like a push notification that says PS5s are in stock. Here's the link. Go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but with as fast as these things are selling too, like I almost feel that that's a delay.
I mean, that's how I got mine. Mine came through a Twitter app. It's just the same thing. It's just Twitter.
Yeah, I just like the fact that a lot of these stores and retailers are like, hey, on Friday we're letting another group go, and so it's like be online at this time if you want to attempt the psychotic time.
Yeah. For me, it just feels good to have it done, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. Because I say it's fun, but at the same time, it's stressful because I just want it to be done, and I don't want to fight anymore. So I say that and watch my Series X will die now or something.
I miss the good old days of sitting outside a store all night. Like I loved that. Like on Black Friday, like it was a yearly tradition for me.
Dude, I mean, I miss midnight launches for stuff.
Me too. Last one I went to, I think, was Gears 2.
Wow.
Or no,
man,
was it Gears 2? It was just fun. It just felt like I'm amongst my people. You know, everybody was there for the same thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? That was awesome. I mean, didn't we talk about doing that? Like going and doing like a remote, as the gaming outsider, and just going like hanging out with people, even though we weren't buying the game.
We wanted to do it for this console release.
Yeah, and it just because of COVID.
But COVID, man, the last midnight one I did was the Xbox One.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think I remember getting mine for the Kinect. Trying to get a Kinect for somebody.
Yeah, I think last midnight launch I went to was for a Green Lantern comic.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty great.
Nerd.
Me and 2 other dudes in there. But the owner made brownies, so that was fun.
Nice.
Bet GameStop didn't make you brownies when you got your Xbox.
Why not?
Can't remember last minute launch. Anyway, let me finish things out with a couple comments here. Stefan Rombing. I'm eyeing the Xbox Series S or X to start with this gen. But with that said, I'm going to wait a bit before upgrading. I've had my Xbox One since launch, yet, yes, still an OG Xbox One, and it works with all the games, even though the load times could kill a dead man. But that to me doesn't warrant me grabbing a new one. This one really needs to break before I can get that purchased by the wife. I will say, having just played Resident Evil Village on PS4 Pro, the load times were excruciating, and every time it happened, all I could think was, I bet Scott and CB don't have this problem.
No.
Yeah.
Those load times are actually like unbelievably fast.
I don't remember load times. I'm like sitting here thinking about it. There were load times?
It was like there was like a black screen with like a black like background screen with like a quick picture, and there was just a game.
Yeah, like if it was there, it was just like momentary.
The like when you go from the main menu to the game on Resident Evil Village, at least on my PS4, it was usually around 45 to 60 seconds.
Wow.
Less than 10.
Which is long, but much like Stefan, every time it happened, I was like, yes, this sucks, but this is not a reason to get PS5.
Right.
I will say, Stefan, I am wildly impressed that your original Xbox One is still functioning.
Agreed.
My brother has a day one Xbox One.
I'm even more impressed because my day one edition died within a year.
No,
yeah, so did mine. He doesn't play that much, though.
I still have my original Xbox One, but I don't use it that often. But my PS4 did die, so I had to get the Pro. And now my Pro is definitely starting to wane too. So good job, Stefan.
Yeah.
But then
one more.
Final comment from Twitter. Just Filthy Gamin says, I'm waiting for PS5 till I can just walk in a store and buy it. Switch is my main console anyway, just waiting for Mass Effect for PS4 for me to play it again. Yeah, that's kind of where, unless my PS4 Pro does die, I really just want to wait until I can just get it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the fight for consoles. I don't remember it being anywhere near this bad for PS4. I do remember it being pretty bad for Switch, but that had Zelda, so I really wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
That had an exclusive at launch. Well, it wasn't. I guess it was on the Wii U, but I wasn't going to buy a Wii U because I'm not as foolish as you two.
Hey.
Well, it was too late then. Okay, the Switch was out. Like, it would be dumb to get a Wii U for Breath of the Wild at that point. And it was something new, fresh, and exciting. Like, these consoles are just, graphical upgraders, basically. Load time reducers. So I'm not chomping at the bit to rush in and get it. Until, of course, they announced, like Fallen Order 2 is only on PS5. Then, of course, I'll buy one immediately.
Well, yeah, duh.
I'll sell everything I own to get it.
There's so much good stuff on a Switch, too. Like, I know there was a Switch shortage for a while there. Is there still a Switch shortage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
crazy.
finding the actual full-size Switch is still pretty hard.
My boss still checks every day at work.
Yeah, the lights actually come up fairly often, but they're not in stock long.
I love my light. I would just rather play. I know that playing on the TV is great and all, but
I have a Switch. I only play it in handheld mode. I feel like I would hate not having the option, but I never use it on TV.
right.
I don't know why I would.
Crazy. That was a fun topic. In Neener, Zach, it wound up being a fun topic. So,
Well, shame on
boom.
me.
You should trust in Scott Clark.
I don't want to get carried away.
We'll stay tuned for next week's topic, which we'll post on the socials. We're not sure what we're going to talk about yet, but we'd love to hear some suggestions. If you guys have a good topic for us, let us know. But that's going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Zach, any parting words or anything you'd like to share with the community, maybe non-game related, that you'd like to talk about before we head out here?
No, man. I mean, my week was pretty stacked between reading, tearing through that book, tearing through Resident Evil, and trying to get all the Nier endings. So, I mean, I definitely watched some more Schitt's Creek. I'm through season 2. That show is great. Scott, you're going to love it, especially, I think.
All right. It's on my list after Ted Lasso. I have 3 episodes of Ted Lasso left. And I think that's what...
Like Ted Lasso?
This show is phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's just so good.
It's pretty remarkably good.
Seriously. CB, how about you?
Well, I wanted to start Shameless this last week, but life got in the way.
Yeah.
So I'm going to attempt to start it again this week.
Oh my goodness! Like some of the, I just want to hear your reaction to some of that stuff that happens in that show.
Yeah,
I got one I'm going to recommend. I have Nate, our producer. If you guys don't know about him, is a massive metal fan, and Nate has curated some playlists that he shared with me, and he introduced me to this band. If you like metal, and I'm talking about really heavy death metal type stuff, there's a band he introduced me to called Within the Ruins. They have a song. They have many songs, obviously, but the song that he introduced me to is called Deliverance. And my God, this band is great. The staccato guitar riffs in this song sound like NES boss battle music. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just really good stuff. So if you gotta really like metal. This is really heavy stuff. But I have listened to that quite a bit these last 2 or 3 weeks, and would highly recommend it. All right. Well, thank you everybody out there for listening. Want to remind you that The Gaming Outsider is produced by Nate Lucas, and all the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemage and Metroid Metal. His website, again, is stemagemusic.com, STEMAGE music.com. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Zach Parkerson and Chris Behrensmeyer, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game. just games that aren't for you.